Hi everyone, and welcome to day 10 in our latest series of blogs looking this time at the Celtic Saints. And we're looking today at St Patrick, one of the most well-known of all. Or is he? Much of his life is actually not known about, and many previously held truths have been disproved over the years as the stuff of myth and legend. We all know he's the patron saint of Ireland, and was apparently credited with ridding Ireland of snakes. However, it's now known that snakes never returned to Ireland after the last ice age 11,000 years ago. There's also no proof, as was thought, that Patrick used the three-leaf shamrock as a basis to explain the concept of the Holy Trinity to 5th century Irish pagans. There is no firm evidence it was Patrick who combined pagan and Christian imagery into the Celtic cross. He wasn't canonised by the Pope. His real name actually wasn't Patrick, and he was not actually Irish. We think we know about him now? All this may surprise you. Patrick was born Maewyn Sucat in Roman Britain, his birthplace again uncertain. Cumbria, Scotland and St David's in Wales have all been mooted by scholars over the years as his potential birthplace. When Patrick was 16, we do know he was kidnapped by Irish pirates who took him to Ireland, where he was enslaved for 6 years. He wrote in his journey of faith, the Confessio, about that journey of faith that the time he spent in captivity was central to his spiritual growth. The Lord showed mercy to him for his youthful indiscretions, and he converted to Christianity. Whilst in captive solitude, he worked as a shepherd and strengthened his relationship with God through prayer. After 6 years, he heard a voice telling him he would soon be able to go home. He searched, he walked many miles, and found a ship eventually, persuaded them to take him on board. After 3 days sailing, they landed, probably in Britain. He left the ship and walked for days in the wilderness. He did eventually return home to further study Christianity, and eventually returned to Ireland again as a Christian missionary. But what was his mission? He wrote of baptising thousands of people, of abolishing slavery and human sacrifice, ordaining priests, and converting wealthy ladies to live as nuns. In his classic work, the Confessio, he said of the Irish people, "Never before did they know God, except to serve idols and unclean things. Now they have become the people of the Lord, and are called the children of God." The sons and daughters of the Irish leaders are seen now to be monks and virgins in Christ. Patrick was also an anti-slavery activist, and in the Confessio he wrote how he was humbled every day by hunger and nakedness during that 6 years in the wilderness. Patrick really knew hard times, but the solitude and time to think stirred his faith, as well as his resilience to strive and work for social change. His spiritual journey is inspiring, describing himself in the Confessio as a sinner who did not know the true God when he was kidnapped, but discovered the hope available to him was in prayer, offering up to 100 prayers a day and a similar number at night. Escaping his slavery and ultimately receiving his calling to the priesthood deepened his faith by studying in France and later returned to Ireland as a bishop. In our linked Bible today, from 2 Corinthians chapter 12 verses 1 to 6, we see Paul trying to get his followers to see the true meaning and struggle of what it means to be an apostle, and how spiritual leadership is developed, realising that the signs they long for do not ease the pressures or trials of earthly life, whether that be in Corinth, Ephesus, Rome, or in Roman Britain in Patrick's time. Patrick, Paul, and all the apostles show that walking in faith and in Christ is a lifelong commitment, and nobody said it would be easy. It requires obstacles to be overcome through perseverance. It's not a test of knowledge, but a test of faith. And a bit like Matt studying St Piran yesterday, so many others, much of the emphasis of their faith is on solitary prayer, on the basis of realising and evangelising the good news of Jesus. Patrick died around AD 461, it's believed, but he left an organised church in Ireland and an island of Christians. He is believed to be buried in Downpatrick Cathedral in Belfast, though some think his burial site is in County Armagh. He's celebrated every year on St Patrick's Day, March the 17th, and is fondly remembered in Ireland as their patron saint and a great spreader of the good news of Jesus. Some even claim he's actually buried in Glastonbury Abbey grounds. The Irish scholar James Carney wrote a few years ago, "It's possible that Patrick, tired and ill at the end of his arduous missions, felt released from his vow not to leave Ireland and returned to the monastery from which he came, which may well have been Glastonbury. We don't know for sure, but in death as in life, Patrick remains that most famous but enigmatic church leader and patron saint. God bless everyone. Have a good day. Bye for now.